Hello and welcome to episode number 254 of the Launch Lounge podcast. Today we're talking about something I get asked about all the time and I love talking about. How to quit your job without going totally broke. Now look, I know that job of yours is driving you crazy and you're dying to tell your boss exactly where he can shove it. But you've also got bills to pay, right? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly how to make the jump from your 9 to 5 to running your own business full time. The smart way. Not going broke, not massive debt, just a real plan that actually works. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome. I love telling this story. I love talking about this part of my entrepreneurial journey because, man, it was hard. Felt hard every day. But then there were some slow wins and then there were some fast wins. I quit my day job twice. I say twice because I quit a fantastic job working as a pharmaceutical rep at a fantastic company. I sold wonderful drugs that I believed in, that did good things in the world. I worked with GPs and I worked with specialists and I loved my job. But I had 2 babies and my maternity leave ran out with the first job. So I had to quit because I was still building my business at the time. And then later, when it didn't quite work out before I had racked up a lot of debt, I had to find another job. I had to go back to work. And this time I worked for a horrible drug company. That big pharma stereotype that, you know, I worked for one of those, but they were like notoriously bad. And I sold a drug that I didn't believe in. And the doctors didn't want to talk to me because they didn't believe in the drug either. So that made it quite hard. But I'm going to tell you the whole story because quitting that second job, quitting my corporate job, was literally the most satisfying day ever. I was sitting in a coffee shop with my boss's boss at the time because they had just made my boss redundant. So I had to quit to my boss's boss, and we were sitting in a coffee shop because he was visiting. I was working in Perth and he is based in Sydney. And so he came over from Sydney to Perth. And we were sitting in a coffee shop and I couldn't wait to break it to him, right? And I was trying so hard to keep a straight face, but inside I was like a teenager at a Billie Eilish concert. I just wanted to jump up and scream, "Say yes, suckers!" and give him a double finger and walk out and have this dramatic storm out moment. I mean, I didn't because, you know, I'm decent and professional and worry too much about what people will think of me to ever do that. But gosh, I really wanted to do that. But hang on, let me not get ahead of myself. We need to back the story up a little bit because the path to that moment, I'm sure, was not what you think it was. It actually started back in 2011 when I was on maternity leave with my youngest daughter, Elle, who is already 11 now. And I had this really generous maternity leave policy. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Australian maternity leave, I got minimum wages paid by the government for, I think, 6 weeks, or maybe it was 2 months. And then our company gave me a choice between 3 months full pay or 6 months half pay. And I opted for the 6 months half pay with both my pregnancies. And so with the first one, I was back literally when she was about 8 months old. And with the second one, I kept postponing. And I did this 6 months half pay. And then you can extend it at no pay for another 6 months, which I did. But at the end of that year, you either have to resign because they have to hire someone in your place, or you have to come back. And I wasn't ready to come back yet, so I had to resign. So that first job that I quit was sad because I was sad to give up a good job. But it was also, I was still in that hopeful phase, where you feel like the business is going to make that breakthrough any day now. Any day you're going to, I don't know what miraculous thing you think at that stage is the any day going to be. But any day you're going to figure it out, right? Because there's really only two things you need to be doing. You need to be building your audience. You need to make offers. There's no miracle involved. It's just build your audience. Do you have enough people? Did you make a good offer? That's basically what it comes down to, right? But so after I quit the first job, I kept going for a while. I thought, this is it. I'm going to be a business owner. How hard can it be? I was in for a little bit of a reality check, because what actually happened, not only did I not make a lot of money, I didn't make enough money to pay the bills. And in a few years, I had racked up $40,000 in debt. Most of it from buying courses or coaching, and buying into the idea that this next thing, this is going to be the thing that's going to teach me exactly how to have a business, right? So over the course of, I think it was about 2 years, I racked up $40,000 in debt. And there was no secret sauce. There was nothing that I bought that ended up being the secret sauce, other than, I will say this, I bought a course that Amy Porterfield was selling. And one of the bonuses was a 2-day live event in San Diego. And that live event in San Diego did change my life. That 2 days live in San Diego, in the room, meeting Amy, it was, I felt like she was a very big deal back then, but it was 2017. So she's a much bigger deal now. But I met her face to face. She helped me sign up a bunch of people at the event, and I came home and I quit my job. And it was incredibly satisfying being in a room full of people who needed an ads manager, people who knew about me, and of course having such wonderful support from a fantastic and amazing human that Amy is, was incredible. And I know that I was very lucky in that as well. So I do understand that there was some luck involved in what allowed me to quit my job, but I also want you to understand what I did to create that luck, and what I did to facilitate the luck, and what I did to be available for the luck. All right, so let's talk about why most people fail to make the transition from working full-time to quitting their job. And this is true for me as well. I had absolutely zero financial runway. I had a hope and a prayer, and a willingness to work hard, and a willingness to learn, right? But a hope and a prayer and a willingness to work hard and a willingness to learn, it's not enough. You need some money in the bank. You need a financial runway. It's tucked away, because it is going to cost 3 times more than you think it is. You are going to have more expenses than you think you will. The money is going to come in slower than you think it is. There is, and if you have no validation of your business model. So if you're still like me in that early stages, I was trying to figure out what kind of coach am I. I was a sales coach, then I was a life coach, and then I was a sales teacher, and I taught some sales. If you have no clear idea of what your niche is, you have no clear validation of your business model, then you're going to need much more time than you think you do. Also, unrealistic timelines is another thing. You cannot control the algorithm. You cannot control how fast your social media audience grows. You cannot control how fast your list grows. The only part of that you can control is you can work your hiney off and be very consistent and learn how to make good offers. All right. So when I went back to my job that second time, I made a deal with my husband, and this is where I was actually smart, and this is where I was able to successfully quit my job. I made a deal with my husband that I would take $1,000 a month from my salary as a rep and put that towards the business. And that $1,000 a month became money that I used to pay my debt, but it also became money that I used to network. And by network, I mean, I did buy that course that Amy Porterfield was selling, and I worked my behind off getting to know people in the Facebook group. I knew my ideal customer is in that Facebook group, and I was in there every day adding value to people. So by the time Amy met me in person, she'd already seen the value that I added to the people in her Facebook group. And so it was luck that she recommended me to people in there. But it was also hard work. It was also a lot of strategic being in front of her, showing her that I know what I'm doing, and showing her that I know what I'm talking about, and showing her that I can be of service to her audience. And I used that strategically with those high impact investments that I made. And that $1,000 a month helped me to create a little bit of stability in my business, because I was able to continue to pay for things like my CRM, landing page software, a few things. Kajabi wasn't around then, but I was able to pay those things that you need to pay regularly. But my salary created security for my family. So my family was taken care of. My husband wasn't, going gray faster than anything because his wife is racking up debt and building a business that's going nowhere. So it took a lot of stress off of his shoulders. And I was able to responsibly provide for my family by going back to that job. Now, understand, please, that I hated every second of being back in that job. Every second, I hated it. It was awful. And I don't think I was a very good employee. I'm ashamed to admit this, but I didn't bring my A game to that job. In hindsight, I feel bad about that. I feel like I was stuck in scarcity land. Stuck in that belief that I have too little time to do the job and build my business at the same time. And so I didn't bring my best energy to the job. I feel ashamed about that. I think I should have done better. And I think if I had learned the lesson of patience that I have learned, hopefully now, I would have been happier. I would have been more content, and I would have added more value to that job, and it probably would have hated it less. So, you take from that whatever you need to. If you've already proven that your course can sell, but scaling beyond 6 figures is becoming a whole nother job, then listen up. Look, after 10 years of running ads for course creators, coaches, and information product owners, I know that throwing more money at ads isn't always the first answer when you're looking to scale. That's why I created the Launch Lounge 30 Days Intensive. In just 30 days, my team and I will analyze your business, dive deep into your data, create your custom strategy, and give you a clear scaling roadmap without the ongoing agency fees. You'll get 2 90-minute sessions with me, a comprehensive business audit, and a customized plan guaranteed to increase profits or your money back. Ready for a freedom empire that grows while you enjoy your Friday morning Pilates? Visit thelaunchlounge.com/intensive to apply today. So here's what I would do differently if I was going to quit my job today. The first thing I would focus on is building my email list. Start by building your email list while you're still employed. I remember going for the interview for this job, and I was still video blogging back then and editing videos on the airplane on my way home, and making this commitment to myself that if I get the job, I am going to continue to video blog. And I think that lasted about 6 weeks. And then I stopped because I felt I couldn't keep up with everything, right? When you do plan to quit your job, you have to already have an established audience going. Your audience, you need to have already started building momentum in terms of having the systems and processes in place that allows you to regularly post on at least one social media platform, if not more, and regularly email your email list some kind of a value-based content, whether it's a podcast or videos. And I would say today it's a lot easier to produce a podcast than it is to produce videos. you just have to have a microphone and hit go, and you can create podcast content, and it's great. But please do not quit your job until your audience building has not built up a little bit of momentum, right? And then the second thing I would say that I would want to have in place before quitting a job is to have a validated offer. Know what you offer, know who your ideal customer is, and know where you're going to find them, and know how you're going to convert them. For me, I had niched down when I went back to this job. I niched down as a Facebook ads manager. At the time, I was kind of teaching social media, teaching how to use Facebook Live, teaching video blogging, teaching a few things. And I then decided I am just going to be a Facebook ads manager. And I focused solely on Facebook ad management for online course creators. And that is why I was able to identify that if I buy this course by Amy and I network in the group, I can become the go-to expert in Facebook ads, and then I can sign up clients. And I had already signed up. In that period, I worked with an accountant, I worked with a financial services provider, I worked with a lawyer, I worked with a bookkeeper, I worked with a real estate agent, I worked with a psychologist, I worked with somebody who sold jewelry. I worked with 2 funnel builders. I worked with a website designer. So I had already worked with, I've just listed 9 people that I can remember that in that year, while I was working full time, I was moonlighting, right? At night. I was literally moonlighting. That's where the saying come from. I was moonlighting as a Facebook ads manager. But by the time I quit my job, I'd already practiced having sales conversations. I'd already knew what I have to say to make a sale. What questions do I have to answer? I had the systems and processes in place. So validate your offer with real buyers before you consider quitting your job. Think about having at least 3 months of business cash in your business account, not life cash. You need more than 3 months of life cash because 3 months go by very, very quickly. You need more than 3 months of life cash. I feel like 6 months of life cash is what you need. But have at least 3 months of business cash buffer. And by business cash buffer, I mean enough to pay the bills, to cover all of your bills, unexpected and expected ones. And then 6 months personal expenses. And that means have enough that you can pay your own salary for 6 months, all right? And then before you start quitting your job, set clear revenue targets. Now, I know when people say set clear revenue targets, we can all pull numbers out of thin air. The only way your clear revenue targets are not going to be a thumb suck or a guess is if you have historical data. So the only way you can know how many sales you're going to make in the future is to look at how many sales you made in the past. If you have 10 people that apply to work with you, or if you have 10 students that sign up for your webinar and 2 of those students convert to sales, then you have a 20% conversion rate, right? So how many leads do you need if you are converting at 20%? That's the kind of numbers you need to be tracking so that you can know what do you need to have in place so that if your revenue target is $100,000 and your price is $1,000 a month, or your price is $1,000 per course sale, how many course sales do you need to make? And then you work that backwards from how many leads do you need in order to sell. So the smart way to transition is to test your offer while you're still employed. Get some paying clients or some paying students or some paying customers while you still get a regular paycheck. And then make sure you figure out the pricing and the delivery. You want to have those systems for taking care of your students built out before you start flooding it with traffic. Get some testimonials. That's the best way to convince someone else that you are as good as you say you are, is by not convincing them. Have someone else speak for you. Have someone else convince them. Focus on building systems and processes. Focus on just Loom record everything that you do. And then put that Loom video into ChatGPT and ask it to create you an SOP. Anything you're going to do once, make sure you don't ever have to figure out how to do the same thing twice. And then make sure you never have to do the same thing more than what is profitable, right? So when it becomes, when you get to that stage where you're making a bit of money and you can put some of it back into your business, you hire a VA to start doing some of those things for you. Create a content bank, because the first thing you're going to want to do when you start working with students or working with paying clients is you're going to want to fall back on how much you're posting. It is the biggest mistake. It's like the worst mistake that I made was, I've already said this a million times in the last few weeks, but the worst mistake I ever made was to stop podcasting, because you don't understand the ripple effect of that. You don't understand the effect that has in your funnels, down funnel, down track, right? Because your leads just dry up, your audience just dries up very quickly. So make sure you have a content bank. If you're podcasting, batch record 10 episodes so that you can spend that first 10 weeks just focusing on serving customers or just focusing on making sales. And as far as you can, create automations. Anything that can be automated, automate it. And if you're not sure if it can be automated, ask ChatGPT and it will tell you, right? Once you start hitting some consistent revenue numbers, then you can start thinking about quitting your job. And then you're going to want to think about a handover plan for whoever takes over your job. Like I said, I wish I left that job on better terms, and I wish I did a little bit better in that job. So I'm asking you, consider having a clear handover plan so that you make it easy for the company that you work for to hand over your work to somebody else. Okay, so what can you do if you want to quit your job before the end of 2025? I want you to think about what your freedom number is. What is that golden number that you're going to need in terms of revenue? And if you've never run a business, remember, revenue and profit are not the same thing, right? So you are going to want to make sure that you have a healthy profit margin in your business. But here's something that this is like a big red flag that I want to make you aware of. A lot of people wait until they have profit before they start paying themselves. Don't do that. Don't do that. As soon as that first dollar comes in, pay yourself. Always pay yourself first. I have friends with businesses who have been running their businesses for as long as I have, and they're doing incredibly well, but they never pay themselves a salary. And I cannot figure it out for the life of me. Because every now and then I hear, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pay my mortgage this month because the business is down. And it's the most bizarre thing to me. I pay myself, I treat myself like an employee, and I get a salary from the business every single month, no matter what. And I cut everything else before I cut my own salary. I pay myself first, because without me, there is no business. So decide how much you need to pay yourself and how much you need to cover the expenses. And then profit is on top of that. But please work towards staying in a place of at least 10% profit in the beginning. And create your timeline. Decide, how long do you need to build your list? How fast is your list growing? How much do you need to post on social media? How many ads do you need to run so that you can build your list faster? Because if you consider that about 1% of your email list is going to buy your paying offer, work out what is 1%? What's 1% of your healthy email list, and get your list to that number. So if you follow what I've given you on today's show, I trust that it will provide you with some guidance, maybe just a few things that you haven't thought about, or a different way to think about how you're going to approach quitting your job in 2025. Hopefully, I have shocked the living daylights out of you because I want you to have a real reality check. I want you to be very clear on how what you need to have already going in your business. It is a non-negotiable that your audience building systems and processes needs to be on autopilot already. You need to already have validated your offer and know that you can make money. So that day, I want you to know that day that I walked into that coffee shop to quit my job, I was scared. I was overwhelmed. I wondered if I'm absolutely crazy, that I'm leaving this steady paycheck. And, here I am, a mum of two. And I have a partner. I am married. So my husband has a solid job. He's worked at the same company for 11 years and, he gets a promotion every couple of years. And I can't complain about, the other half of our income in our family and the stability that provides. And I get that that's a privilege. But for the longest time, I was on a hope and a prayer that I'm going to make this work. And I did not realize what I had to put in to actually get to a place where I can comfortably quit my job. And I worked for that second company for a year. So it literally, I spent 2 years messing around. I want to use the F word, messing around. And then I had a really hard reality hit. And I had to go and work for that yucky company. And I had to spend a year working for that yucky company before the reality hit me of what I actually need to do to create a profitable business. I'm sitting here recording this podcast for you from my home office, running a business I love. I have made more money than I ever thought I would make ever. And I have had years where I've made less than that, right? So you all know that last year was a bit of a cutback year for me. I have spoken about this on the podcast. And you know what? The pruning and the cutting back is serving me well. I love my business. I love my job. I love my clients. I love my students. I love podcasting. And you know that I stopped because I was so tired. And now I'm doing it twice a week. And I didn't get here by some magic formula or by being special. Everything that you think is a reason why maybe you can't do it, I'm willing to bet you there's someone else doing it already with those exact same circumstances. I used to believe my accent is a problem, right? How ridiculous. In the beginning, I thought no one will want to listen to me because I have a funny accent. And now I hear from people they love me because of my funny accent. So weird. But I don't have anything special. In fact, I'm sitting here tucked away in a corner of the world, very far away from most of you, because most of my listeners are in the US. Most of my clients are in the US. Most of my students are in the US. So shout out to my Aussies and my South Africans and my English listeners and, everybody in Europe and everywhere all over the world. I see you. I hear you. I know you're there. But, we know the volume is in the States. And so, I do also have things counting against me, and I just followed the same steps that I'm teaching you to follow. I want you to know that you can do this. I know right now it might feel like everyone else has it figured out and you're behind. But that is a lie. That is false. That is not true. Your path might look different than mine, and that's okay. The important thing is that you start. Take these steps that I shared today. Do them in this order, right? Because trust me, the order matters. You need to build your audience first, and then you need to learn how to make offers. And just watch what happens. And hey, When you're sitting in your home office one day, recording your own podcast, running your own business, or doing whatever lights you up, I want you to remember this moment. Remember that you started here, listening to this episode, taking that first step towards building your freedom empire. You have got this, and I've got you. Keep me posted on your journey. Send me a message, send me an email, podcast@thelaunchlounge.com. I would love to hear from you the day you quit your job. Or maybe the day you commit to quitting your job this year. Let me know. podcast@thelaunchlounge.com. I hope you have a lovely day. Take care. Bye. Before you go, if today's episode helped you, imagine how many more lives could be transformed if other creators, coaches, and experts found these strategies too. Your shares and reviews help more course creators discover how to get their knowledge out into the world. Please take a moment to rate the show and leave a quick review. When you do, we get to reach more people and we make a bigger impact together. Because when more people who help people succeed, the world becomes a better place. Thank you.